But if you see an insert that's literally a finger long, and just saying the dosages, and especially if the insert mentions the anabolic to androgenic rating, just throw it in the trash. Vigorous Steve here. So there seems to be some misconceptions and general misunderstanding on what is considered pharmaceutical grade and FDA approved medications that can be used in the context of bodybuilding or to extend your overall quality of life and help you reach your fitness aspirations a little bit easier and more efficiently, so to say, and how these products differ between pharmaceuticals which are produced in third world countries, produced for export only and not sold in the country of manufacturing. These products might be manufactured under pharmaceutical settings in a pharmaceutical company, but are not technically pharmaceutical grade when you compare the parameters to first world pharmaceuticals, which are used in hospitals, right? Most of these products are not used in hospitals, but might still be produced under pharmaceutical settings. And then there's underground labs, which generally produce their products in a kitchen somewhere using citizen science through home brewing with beakers and microwaves and solvents and steroid powders purchased online. In most cases, no third-party testing. Maybe not the most sterile product, but there's still reputable underground labs out there which take great care, making sure that their raws are of the highest potency and purity and don't produce products that are unsterile. So there are spaced far and few between. So I want to make this video series to give you guys the insight on how to recognize quality pharmaceuticals which are actually used as medications in particular medical settings. Third world pharmaceuticals which are only produced for export and might find themselves on the underground market nonetheless. And underground labs which are generally used by gym bros because they don't want to spend the money on pharmaceutical grade, or they say they don't have access to it. I want to discuss that in this little quick video series, so I'll probably split it up into 2 or 3 different videos. In this one, I want to discuss pharmaceuticals. And before we get into it, please like the video, leave a comment for the algorithm, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I already made a very in-depth and extensive article on my website discussing which carrier oil each pharmaceutical company uses to produce their anabolic androgenic steroid products with. So a quick overview for this video. Bayer Germany, Endo Pharmaceuticals, Norma Hellis, and Rotex Medica all use castor oil in their products. Actavis, American Regent, Cipla Pharmaceuticals, Padlock Laboratories, also known as Perrigo, Pfizer, Hospira or Pfizer Pharmacy and Upjohn, Rising Pharmaceuticals, Sun Pharma, and Wilshire Pharmaceuticals all use cottonseed oil. Bausch Health Company or Valiant Pharmaceuticals, it is also known in Canada. Desma Healthcare, Hikma Pharmaceutica, also known as Westward Pharmaceuticals, and Watson Laboratories all use sesame oil. Galenica and Q Pharma use olive oil. And Aspen Pharmacare, Jelfa Pharma, Merck Sharp and Dome, Norma Hellis, Nexus Pharmaceuticals, Organon, Searle, and Cetus Cadilla Healthcare all use arachiis oil, which I personally advise everybody to avoid, because in some people, arachiis oil causes systemic inflammation, and that's something you don't want when you're already skewing your lipid parameters to a certain extent when you're taking anabolic androgenic steroids. Now, I know what you're going to ask. What about peach oil? Again, that's third world pharmaceuticals only produced in one country, not used by any other pharmaceutical company that I know of. And you don't have to mention the brand in the comment section like, Steve, I know which brand this is, right? And you start typing. All these brands, the third world pharma and their underground labs, they're all blocked. I don't want my YouTube comment section to turn into a source discussion, so please don't even bother, right? Any pharmaceutical grade discussion is appreciated, but I don't want to be associated with any underground lab or third world pharmaceutical company. So quit while you're ahead. Right? A full list is on my website. You can have a read through it there. Now, the main reason why pharmaceutical companies use organic carrier oil found in nature, albeit highly refined and sterile, is because pharmaceutical companies are required by law to follow their FDA regulations for good laboratory practices and good manufacturing practices. Now you can see that with some of the supplements, they have a GMP sticker on the bottle as well, following good manufacturing practices as well. Because in the supplement industry, there's no required testing. But with medications, there is. They have to follow these guidelines. Otherwise, they can get scrutinized and sued by the government because their medications are not up to standard, being the good laboratory practices or the good manufacturing practices following United States Standards Pharmacopia guidelines. So there's a lot more scrutiny when it comes to pharmaceutical grade companies that produce medications in the Western world. So with those guidelines, you have a higher likelihood that you're getting what you pay for. The concentration contained within the product is exactly as labeled. The product is sterile and it contains the correct active pharmaceutical ingredient as mentioned on the box. And in most cases, anabolic steroids are prodrugs. Testosterone enanthate is the prodrug for testosterone after the enanthate ester has been metabolized by the carboxyl esterases after an injection. And whether that happens in the bloodstream or in the liver or in other tissues of the body, that it highly depends on your metabolic rate and your individual response to particular esters, because there's many different carboxyl esterases which metabolize esters from anabolic steroids. So when you get a product like this, Bayer Testoviron Depot, containing testosterone enanthate at 250 milligrams per 1 milliliter, you know exactly what you're getting, because what is mentioned on the box is exactly what's contained within the product. It has an expiration date, which is printed on top with a laser printer, not printed alongside the packaging. So that's something you should pay attention to. These packages, you might not be able to see it properly, but they have an area that shines and an area that's printable, right? And they do that the same for Bayer Rimabolin, for example. There's an area that is shiny and an area that's printable. So you can't print on this area. That's printed on top of the packaging. And this, the serial number and the expiration date, that's printed with a laser printer when this is packaged. So normally, let me tear it apart for you guys. This is how it comes, right? This is how it goes to the factory. This is produced separately somewhere else, probably. It's not all produced at the same spot. This is the packaging, right? It's cut out, it's printed, and they leave a little space here for the serial code or for the QR code and the serial number, which you can scan with the Turkish pharmacy app, and the part number and the serial number. It's in Turkish, so I can't really read that. So this is unprintable. All of this is unprintable. Just this little area where they produce the serial code and the expiration date, and here the QR code for tracking purposes. Those are printable and everything else is not. So if you see everything looks shiny or everything is matte, allowing you to print anywhere basically, then you have a little bit of a red flag there. It could be that this entire packaging, including the serial numbers and the expiration date, were printed at the same time. That's one of the red flags that you need to pay attention to. So again, the batch number, the manufacturing date, and the expiration date are all printed on the packaging with a laser printer after the medication has been produced and cleared for shipment from the factory. Some of the packaging might contain a barcode, as you can see here on Bayer Testoviron Depot produced in Thailand. And some of them might contain a QR code, as you see here on Bayer Rimabolin produced in Turkey. Right? The packaging is all messed up, but we did that for educational purposes. Now, these details are also printed or stamped on the individual ampules or blister strips during production. Now, in this case, the Bayer Rimabolin and the Bayer Testoviron Depot contain stickers with all the relevant data that you can also find in the packaging, right? The brand name, the concentration, the lot number, and the expiration date. That's all contained within the stickers around these ampules. But some countries have an ampule printer where they literally shoot ink on top of the ampule, allowing it to adhere with all of the relevant data as well. Some of them use transparent stickers, so it looks transparent, but it's actually a sticker on top of the ampule, or they present the information with an ampule printer. What's the most important thing is that all of the relevant information is contained within the ampule or the blister strip, in case you remove the ampule or the blister strip, or the vial for that matter, from the packaging for easier transport, for example. So we can take Merck Glucophage is an example as well. It's not exactly a blister strip, but not really sure what this is called. This contains the expiration date as well, and the lot number. Probably can't see it, but trust me, it's on top of here as well. The strip also mentions what this medication contains. Glucophage, a film-coated tablet containing metformin hydrochloride, 500 milligrams each tablet. Right, so all of this should be presented on whatever medication you take from the packaging. Many of the third world pharma production does the same thing, so their blister strip might contain a batch number and an expiration date as well, similar to their ampules. But again, on underground labs, well, blister strips on true underground labs produced in somebody's kitchen probably doesn't come in blister strips. It probably comes in capsules, not even in tablets, because you'll need a tablet presser to produce tablets. And capsules are very easy to make. You just take both ends and you dip it in the powder, and then fingers crossed, it contains the accurate amount of milligrams or micrograms of whatever you're trying to put into capsules and sell on the underground market. Another method to determine whether the serial code and the expiration dates are printed with a laser printer or printed alongside of the packaging, indicating that it might be a counterfeit, is you can try to rub this off with rubbing alcohol. Now, it doesn't work for every brand. For example, I already tried it on this testifier in Depot. If you're rubbing alcohol on the laser printed part, it doesn't come off, no matter how hard you rub. Right? You can rub until infinity, until to the point the packaging literally falls apart. But for some of the products, that might still hold up. Again, it's not a foolproof method. You might not be able to rub the laser printed expiration date and the batch number from the packaging, but it's something you can try, right? To see whether it's printed on top with an old laser printer or it's printed alongside of the packaging. Again, this one I got from the pharmacy on a prescription. So I know 100% that it's real, also proven with blood work, obviously, because, well, even half an ampule of this brings my total testosterone to slightly over the reference range. So I know it's legit, but it's something you can look into when you're pursuing other pharmaceutical medications used for clinical settings. Pharmaceuticals come with an insert like this, always folded and lengthy. Now, unfortunately, this one is in Turkish. I'm still waiting for somebody to translate this for me. The previous guy, unfortunately, disappeared. So, if anybody wants to translate the Turkish insert for me, please hit me up. I would love to see exactly what it says and then release that to the public, so everybody can read the insert and not be reliant on their skills or have to learn Turkish in the process. Right? So it always comes with an insert. Some of the third world pharmaceuticals might have an insert. They're not as lengthy as this. They're probably about this long, and they don't contain so much information. So an insert like this contains the contraindications, the warning, the composition of the medications. It's either mentioned on the packaging or in the insert itself. The drug interactions, the side effects, methods of administrations, recommended dosages in particular cases. So in this insert, for example, what I was able to translate for a previous video is that they have general recommendations for women, for men, whether they are particular weight or weight-based recommendations for particular medical conditions, right? So there's a lot of information which is contained within the insert. They have to put that in the packaging, obligated by law. Now, of course, those laws are going to vary a little bit from country to country because pharmaceuticals are produced in many different countries all over the world. But if you see an insert that's literally a finger long, and just saying the dosages, and especially if the insert mentions the anabolic to androgenic rating, just throw it in the trash. It's not pharmaceutical. You could still use it if you want to, or if you're trying to save a buck, but personally I would not use it. So the medical insert contains all the general information that a medical professional or prescribing physician might need before they prescribe this particular medication. And for the user of this medication to read through the insert and see if there's any contraindications or side effects that they need to be well aware of. So they don't need to go online and do additional research. Most of these medical inserts are very, very complete. Of course, they're not 100% up to date with the latest medical literature because, well, medical research is always evolving and ever changing, and new studies get performed on a year-to-year basis. So keep that in mind. It might always be advisable to do additional research, but these inserts are very complete from all the research that I've done reading the inserts and then doing additional data on particular medications that I wanted to use myself. Now, depending on the country of manufacturing and the local regulations regarding the production of medicines, some of the packaging might contain Braille imprinted on the packaging for people who are visually impaired. So Bayer Rimabolin contains Braille on the packaging, so somebody who's visually impaired and has the capability to read Braille would be able to read whatever this medication contains. But in Thailand, for Bayer Testivar Depot, that's not required. So the medications here in Thailand, some of them contain Braille, but some of them do not. So it really depends on the local regulations and what is required from each FDA regarding the production of medicine. So it's a guideline that you can look into whether it's true pharmaceutical grade or not, but not a prerequisite because many of the medications that are sold worldwide don't contain Braille imprints on the packaging. But I've never seen Braille imprints on third world pharma or underground labs for that matter. So at least it's a little bit of a guideline to ensure that the product that you have is of pharmaceutical grade origins. You can also look at the carrier oil. I've mentioned this many times before, especially with fakes. This is very thick oil. You probably can't see it also, but the viscosity is so thick that it takes a while to move through the ampule. And so maybe you guys can see it. I hope it's clear, and otherwise I'll make a little close-up later on. But you see that the oil is very thick. So I've seen counterfeit primos on the market that come in a similar package as this, but instead of having 1 ampule contained within, they have 3. And then you look at the oil, and it literally looks like water, right? It doesn't move as in a viscous sense like the castor oil that Bayer uses. So this one moves nice and slow, right? It almost looks like a lava lamp, only being one color. But I've seen Bayer Rimabolin counterfeits that have 3 ampules in a single package, which is mainly done for transport purposes because it's easier to transport, 3 times as much in this way in a single package. Again, Bayer is not known for thinking about the environment. I mean, the amount of additional stuff they put in their packaging, again, you could put 3 or 4 ampules in a single one, but they choose to put a big piece of plastic in there. Again, it's better this way so you don't have an opportunity for this ampule to break. Same as the Bayer Testivar, right? It's a nice packaging. The ampule goes right here in the middle, this way. Goes this way. It's nice and solid, right? Doesn't move, doesn't give you the opportunity for the ampule to break. But it's a lot of wasted space in these packages. So the underground or the counterfeit market, they might put 3 ampules in this packaging. And then when you move the ampule around and you check the liquid contained within, it literally looks like water. Now, whether that's water or MCT, that's a little bit hard to determine. But this, at least Bayer, castor oil products, take a little while to inject. So it's a little bit annoying. It's not very user-friendly. But at least the castor oil matches the enanthate ester, allowing for slower absorption and release from the depot for more stable serum concentrations. And this is ultimately what you want. You don't want a huge spike when you inject MCT oil thinking that the enanthate ester is magically going to keep your serum concentrations stable that way. No, a lot of this pharmaceutical ingredient releases from the depot, enters in the bloodstream, and then the enanthate ester is metabolized, turning it into an active pharmaceutical ingredient, raising serum concentrations quite rapidly. None of the pharmaceutical companies use MCT or grapeseed oil, but to be fair, many of the compounding pharmacies in the United States and other countries prefer to use grapeseed oil for their products, which are also following United States Pharmacopia guidelines and good manufacturing practices as well. And then the last major tip I want to give you guys before we close off this video, if you're unsure whether the product is pharmaceutical grade, FDA approved medication that's used in clinical settings that can enhance your bodybuilding aspirations or not, right? And you might think, is this third world pharma or is it an underground lab? You're not exactly sure. All you have to do is look for this brand or the main manufacturer on the stock market. Because Bayer, Pfizer, Watson, and many of the pharmaceutical companies that produce steroids for medical use are on the stock market. So when in doubt, all you have to do is go to your local stock exchange and look for the company to see if they sell stock or not. You don't actually have to buy the stock, especially Bayer stock. It seems to be getting lower and lower and lower. And the Pfizer stock seems to be going higher and higher and higher. You don't have to buy stock of a particular product that you're interested in. Just look at the stock exchange, whether they're listed or not. And if they are listed, you can bet the farm that it's pharmaceutical grade, because no underground lab or third world pharmaceutical is going to be on the stock exchange. So that's a clear indication that it's pharmaceutical grade. If it's not listed, it doesn't mean that it's not pharmaceutical grade. Then the second place you look is on the Wikipedia page, right? Look, if Rotex Medica, for example, is not on the stock exchange, even though they produce beautiful testosterone depot in castor oil. I've used many of their products. Flawless, right? Very smooth, no post-injection pain, serum concentrations as high as can be. Never had an abscess or an infection or anything like that, right? Always smooth injections, but Rotex Medica is not listed on the stock exchange. So you go to Wikipedia next, or you go to the American Food and Drug Administration database, or the Canadian Food and Drug Administration database, or the Thai FDA database, or MIMS.com. I'll list all of that in the article that comes along with this YouTube video, right? So you can do additional research for yourself. If you're still not sure, to go to drugs.com. You know what? I'll make a separate video about how to find drug information, because there's so many websites out there that you can consult for particular pharmaceutical products, whether that's the company that manufactures it or the particular product that you're interested in purchasing or using for yourself. Plenty of websites you can consult to see whether the product is actually pharmaceutical grade, first word pharmaceutical that's used in medical settings or not, or it's not listed and now you have to juggle between, is this third world pharma, underground lab, or some sort of counterfeit that is riding the coattail of a pharmaceutical company and produces a product under the name of this pharmaceutical company, but it's not FDA approved anywhere. So you might have an Anavar that's produced under the box and the brand of a pharmaceutical company that's listed on the stock exchange with a Wikipedia page and plenty of products that are FDA approved in a multitude of countries. And then there's this black sheep that's not produced by this pharmaceutical company, but that's actually Counterfeit, underground lab, with a brand that they stole from a true legitimate company and produced a product with that they hope to make money on. Again, I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll make a couple separate videos regarding these topics in the near future. Until then, if you're looking for the most comprehensive guides to bodybuilding pharmacology, you can find the ebooks on my website, vigoroussteve.com/shop. Have a look at the articles there. They're free. You can read through them at your own discretion. You don't have to pay for that. It's knowledge that I want to transfer to you so you can make much better decisions regarding your own performance-enhancing drug journey, right? They're free. Just go read them. I know they might be very, very lengthy, as many of these videos are, but I want you guys to be healthy, whether that's today, tomorrow, or decades from now. This is why I put all this information out there, so you can make the best decisions possible and you don't have to make the same mistakes that I made in the past because the information was not available, right? If you're looking for personalized advice, you can always contact me for consultations. The rates are in the consultation section. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at VigorSteve. A pharmaceutical grade front double bicep for the Vigorous crew. A little bit of test and a little bit of primobolan in these cannons. And you get what you pay for. It's certainly not cheap. Right now, I'm on 3/4 of an ampule of Bayer testosterone depot. So not even a full ampule per week, just 3/4. But I am on 3 ampules of this. And these are not 1 milliliters containing 100 milligrams. This is 1.2 milliliters containing 120 to 125 milligrams. Right? Bayer is always overfilled, and that's why it's the best freaking brand on the planet. I'll leave you with that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Vigorous crew, you guys know what to do. I'll see you guys in the next video.